Hi, and welcome to Studio SN. My name is Sara Naumann, and today we're going to be using PaperArtsy's Fresco Finish acrylic paints, also their Eclectica stamps. We'll be adding in some of Ranger's Dylusions ink spray and adding in a bit of heat-resistant acetate, all to create a fast and easy card background. And this card project is one that I designed for the PaperArtsy blog. So I invite you, when you get done watching today's video, to pop on over to the PaperArtsy website. They're over at paperartsy.co.uk, and give yourself a little bit of time, or a lot of time, because they have got so many fantastic tips, tricks, and tutorials on their blog to get your imagination going. In the meantime, enjoy today's show. As many of you know, I love placing lots of small stamps together on one big acrylic block to create a background. And it's one of the easiest ways to get a jump start on my card making projects. Now in this case, I stamped onto acetate. I'm going to move this. I think you'll be able to see the shine of that. And it just adds another layer of texture to the card. Now underneath the acetate is a background that combines two of my favorite things: PaperArtsy chalk acrylic Fresco finish paint and Dylusions ink spray. And this is in my favorite lemon zest. And the two of these work beautifully together. And actually this lemon zest works with just about any color to create a really beautiful soft glow to the paint. So we're applying the paint and then putting the Dylusions on top of it. Now both of these colors are brayered onto white cardstock, and sometimes I think that we can forget you don't always need a brush for painting, nor are you limited to using spray as only a spray. So my brayer is actually my most used tool for just about any kind of medium application, and we're going to use that for this process. Now the best thing about this technique is that it gives you lots of layers and dimension, but it is quick and easy to do. So I'm going to move aside my stamps and bring in a piece of plain white matte cardstock. This is what I'm going to create my background on. Now the paint that I'm using is a limited edition Fresco finish. This is a Lynn Brown, one of the Lynn Brown sets, and this is in Bougainvillea. Now if you don't get a chance to get this before it goes out of stock, you may also try for the orchid and the Spanish mulberry. So everything kind of within the same color family here. So I'm just going to put a little bit of the paint onto my craft sheet. I'm using this as my palette, and I'm going to brayer it onto my background paper. So I'm just rolling my brayer through here, making sure that it is covered entirely, and then I'm going to brayer it onto my cardstock. Now I don't want to cover it completely, but I do want some white areas, but I want it mostly this beautiful kind of a fuchsia or a hot pink. And then let me just clean up this area here, and I can bring in my color spray. So I need to let this dry. It's not going to take very long. This is actually almost dry as we speak. The next step is going to be adding the Dylusions, and this is, as I mentioned, in lemon zest. Now normally what you do, of course, is spray with this, but I'm going to brayer it on. Now before I do that, I'm just going to give my painty brayer a bit of a clean with a baby wipe and dry it off a little bit, and then I'm going to again use my craft sheet as my palette. So I'm going to pour out just a little bit. I don't need a whole lot for this. And then I can brayer my color on, and wait until you see the difference this makes. So again, just rolling my brayer through here and rolling it directly onto that painted background. So you can see this looks beautiful as it is, but when you add that yellow on there, that's the lemon zest. Oh, it just has a bit more glow and warmth to it, and it adds another dimension without sort of overtaking any of the gorgeous color. So again, I'll sort of mop this up here. Excuse me while I bring in my lovely painty towel and clear that all up. And then what I can do is go ahead and let this dry completely. I can zap it with a heat tool if I need to. And then I'm ready to start layering my background on top. So let me talk about this too. I'm going to set this aside and bring in my acrylic block with all of my stamps on here. Now the stamps I'm working with are from the ESN07 Eclectica stamp set. And this is a stamp set that I designed for PaperArtsy. This is one of several that I have with them. And this has lots of really cool elements that you can use, some of these as focal points and lots of them that you can combine together as a background. So I have all on my one big acrylic block. I have the sheet music snippet. I've got this little bit that was on an envelope that I had mailed to me, little barcode. There are also some words and other elements in here. There's this big block stamp right here, which is actually the train station schedule for the Sopot train station. So if you're ever in my neighborhood, you'll know how to take the train. And I just took a photo of it and turned it into a stamp. It was really cool. So I've got that on here. I've got numbers, I've got letters, I've got some round elements as well. And I'm ready to stamp this onto acetate. So I'm going to bring in the acetate piece where I've already stamped on it, and I've got a piece of white cardstock underneath so you can see this. And I want to talk a little bit about the supplies I used to do this. Now, if you are stamping onto an acetate that you pick up at your local craft store or maybe something that you get at an office supply store, you want to use either the Stays On ink or Surfaces ink. Both of these inks are designed to work on slick, non-porous surfaces like acetate, plastic, anything like that, glossy cardstock, and these will dry right away. Now, if you're using another kind of acetate, one that is heat resistant, then you can stamp with whatever ink pad you're using. And I used a jet black archival because I was stamping onto this heat resistant acetate. Now this is from hot off the press, so if you're in the US or Canada, you probably know you can get this easily from Paper Wishes. If you're in the UK or Europe, Crafter's Companion also has a heat resistant acetate. The trick with that is that you can stamp with jet black archival or whatever ink you happen to have. You can even do heat embossing, and you can use your heat tool with that acetate, and it won't warp and it won't buckle. So if I were to use a heat tool on a regular acetate that I get at the office supply store, I think I would have some warping issues with that. So you have two options, you have two choices to go with that. So what I've done is just simply inked up this entire piece, turned it over and stamped it onto my acetate. And then what I can do is play with the positioning of this. So let me bring back in my original card and show you what I've done to put this together. Of course, the biggest question is going to be, how do you get something that is clear plastic to adhere to the background paper? So I've really just taken this stamped element and put it onto my brayered background. And then, of course, the question is how to make the two attach. Well, in this case, I've done staples. And I've done two staples at top and bottom, left and right. And the reason I like to do staples is because they're easy to use. You've probably got a stapler on hand. And they also add a really fun other kind of textural element to the card too. So I've just stapled these together, top and bottom, left and right. And I haven't done anything on these corners. I haven't used any glue on this at all. You could use a little bit of glue underneath the flower embellishment if you wanted to though. So I've got two flowers, two big flowers stacked up together, a smaller one on top held on with a brad. I've got some twine going around here. And again, I really like the combination of all of these sort of disparate types of material. So I've got this twine, I've got the silk flowers, I've got the plastic acetate, I've got the staples. It's really kind of a fun mixed media card in very subtle ways. So then I've also got this mounted up onto white cardstock and onto some gray cardstock. This little bit here, this is also from the stamp set. That's the My Heart, which is just stamped with black and then inked around the outside edge and then popped up here with a little bit of foam tape. So this is how you can create an easy background using Fresco Finish chalk acrylic paints, Dylusions color spray, and Eclectica stamps. I hope you enjoyed today's show. A big thank you to the folks at PaperArtsy for inviting me to be a part of their blog. For more inspiration and to check out the Eclectica stamps and other fantastic PaperArtsy supplies, do be sure to stop by their website at paperartsy.co.uk. Of course, you know you can always stop by my place at saranaumann.com, but while you're here on YouTube, I'd love if you subscribe to Studio SN. Thank you so much for joining me on Studio SN, and I'll see you again next time.